Now, though, let's dive into the second piece of this. For a majority of what that video was, Philadelphia was winning up until like the last, 20% of that video. Here's what Boston did to really just absolutely put the hammer down. Tatum grabs this defensive rebound, ball screen for Rob Will. I think that this, along with two isolation possessions that occurred right before it in the second quarter, right around the 4-minute mark, got Jayson Tatum like really going. He had already had 12, I think 14 points maybe.
Yeah.
But I think those two isolation possessions and then him just being able to step into this with ease is exactly what got him going. So here it's just Joel in a deep drop because Melton has already fought over this. This is just beautiful skill work. This is a beautiful crossover between the legs, getting to his step back. This is just something that's impossible to guard, right? You can't do anything about this if you're Anthony Melton.
You're correct. And Tatum had a couple of really tough shots that he was able to get in during this stretch, like the final few minutes of the second quarter. But after this possession right here, and you see him make 3 in a row or something like that, if you are Doc Rivers, if you are the players on the Philadelphia 76ers, you need to say, this is when it stops. We need to get the ball out of his hands. We can't let him stay hot. He's already gotten hot through isolation plays. If we have the opportunity to double, to get the ball out of his hands, to be more aggressive, it's game 7. Like we cannot sit back and let one of the top 4 players this entire season just pick us apart as soon as he has space, because he is automatic right now. And to me, that was the frustrating part of watching this game from a Philadelphia perspective, was that Tatum seemed to continually get to where he wanted to on the floor.
Yeah, so these next 3 I actually sent you ahead of time because you said to put 2 on the ball. They do that eventually.
They do. They do.
But we're about to see 3 straight possessions here from the Boston Celtics that are something. So this is the 2-minute mark of the second quarter. Rob Williams comes, sets this screen, and Jayson eventually is just stringing out Joel here. That's the whole goal of this. This is a great screen from Rob Williams, first and foremost. Look at how much body he gets on Tobias Harris. It's going to be really, really hard for Joel Embiid to guard on an island in this drop against Jayson Tatum, who is a constant pull-up threat from every single inch of this court whenever he has this downhill capability. He is excellent at stopping and popping, and this is just impossible for Joel. He could stop here. He could stop here. He could literally stop here. Instead, once he reads Joel come out because he thinks that he's trying to get to that sidestep, which is Jayson's probably preferred mid-range shot, that left foot sidestep, mid-range left foot sidestep 3-pointer, Joel reads that. And as soon as Jayson reads that Joel is thinking that, it's over. Jayson drives.
Disgusting.
Foul on Joel. It's just the pressure that Jayson puts on the defense constantly. The pressure that Jayson Tatum is putting on your best players, it's really, really difficult. So here, Jayson Tatum going to come up. This is literally the next possession, 145 now of the second. We're going to see Rob Williams come up, set this action. This is beautiful Spain pick and roll where you're screening the screener. Boston loves to run this stuff. So you're going to see Marcus Smart come in. He's getting ready to screen Joel here, which is going to force Tyrese Maxey onto a tough spot. The other thing you're going to see here, if I remember correctly, Joel calls it out and calls out essentially a pre-switch here against the Boston Celtics. So look at him pointing. Joel is pointing here. He's seeing this is screen the screener action. He's telling Tyrese, you're going to be responsible here for Jayson. Tyrese comes off of it. Tyrese does get Jayson here, but the problem is that now you have Tyrese on an island against Jayson Tatum. And Tyrese Maxey, I love him. He's great. He's not a good on-ball defender to have against Jayson Tatum. This is a mismatch. Tatum elevates over. Easy little floater. Next possession down the court, 110 mark of the second quarter. Marcus Smart sets this screen now. And now they put 2 on the ball. They're trying to get the ball out of Jayson's hands here. They're trying to make it so that Marcus Smart has to beat them in a short roll. Marcus Smart can beat you in short rolls. That's the thing. So
Yep.
here, Marcus Smart is going to try and pressure Joel. That's the whole goal. He's pressuring Joel Embiid. Joel stays back instead of coming up. That is Joel's preferred idea. He likes to use his length to be able to have a late contest on these opportunities. I think that Smart recognized perfectly in terms of Joel's like stride. He strides backward here, times this little floater perfectly. Beautiful stuff. But again, you're seeing Philadelphia run the gamut here in terms of screen coverages. The last sort of, to an extent, they're dropping Joel for the most part, but that was a blitz with a guard on guard screening action.
Yes. Yep. The guard on guard part is the really important side of it, because everything has been built for Philadelphia around keeping Joel Embiid closer to the basket. It's his preferred destination. I don't think he's left the paint yet, maybe a half step above the elbows. And if you're Joe Mazzulla, if you're Boston and you want to keep Tatum rolling, the only thing you say is, let's stay away from those guard to guard actions. Let's make sure that Embiid is primarily involved in guarding the screener, so that they can't send to the ball, so that now it's Tatum who's on fire, continuing to be that facilitator.
Yep. So makes this little floater. Now we're at 40 seconds of the second quarter, which I believe is, again, literally the next possession down the court. This is a set they ran all the time. I was trying to figure out, it's not like quite a scissor set where, you know, Jason's coming across, taking the handoff, and Marcus is coming across and like, you know, trying to fake like a potential option here. But Jalen's going to bring the ball into the middle of the court to Rob Williams. Rob Williams, this is essentially a dribble handoff to start.
Yeah, blind.
But look at how good Tobias Harris does here.
Yep.
Tobias, what did you say?
Blind pig type of action. So a lot of times, and this is an old Chicago Bull staple, like when Tatum's atop the, you know, almost to half court and he's being hugged, they'll hit the big at the top of the key and try to run that as like a flash kind of interruption to get the handoff there. Like Tobias does a great job of recognizing that and taking away the first option, but patience does prevail.
Yeah, and Tatum again comes around, and this is again a killer screen from Rob Williams. Really important here. And this is something that we've seen the Lakers do throughout their series against Golden State. This is not something we saw Philly do at all in this series. And Anthony Davis is a much better athlete than Joel Embiid. It's much harder for Joel to play at the level of the screen. I think Joel has to be able to stick at the level of the screen for longer here. I just do. That's a sidestep three. That's Jayson Tatum. Staple. That's what he's trying to get to.
But again, how many has he made in the last 5 minutes? Like the threat should be, other than that one Marcus Smart floater because you trapped Tatum, like he has just scored 7 possessions in a row almost. You have to be in tune to getting the ball out of his hands a little bit more. And I get scheme, I get different things. I know Embiid wants to be closer to the basket. You have to be up higher. It's a game 7 situation.
That's exactly right. Third quarter now, 10-minute mark. Rob Williams sets a screen for Marcus Smart. They get it back to Jayson Tatum. And as you're going to see here, all of this is predicated upon trying to get Jayson Tatum switched on to Joel Embiid. He actually was not guarding him. It looks like, based off of this, that Joel Embiid is guarding Jayson Tatum here. They've already set like 4 or 5 essentially screening action here between Tatum and Rob Williams to get Joel onto Tatum. Rob's going to come away from it in order to try and isolate Joel on Tatum. Tucker calls it out here. As you can see, Tucker tells Joel to go up and try and guard this. He doesn't really do it. I don't totally know why. They're just kind of miscommunicating here, it feels like. There's not a lot of synergy in what they're doing. Tucker is like, you can very strongly see Tucker. He's pointing here for like a full second, telling Joel to get up. And part of this is Jayson. Jayson does a great job with his body work here to try and isolate Embiid onto him instead. I think Joel has to be willing to fight through this on some level. They do eventually get it back to where Tucker is on Tatum. But again, now you see Tatum just give the ball back, and then he comes up and sets the screen, slips it, and they're forced to run this switch and have Joel peel off onto Jayson. And now you have Joel Embiid on Jayson Tatum. As soon as he reads Joel, make just that little movement right here, reads the front foot the whole time. The front foot comes above the 3-point line. Then Joel's left foot comes way above the 3-point line. And there's just no way that he can manage that at all at that point. Perfect read from Jayson Tatum.
Yep.
Another one here. Same action as in the first half. Dribble handoff inserted to Rob Williams. Rob Williams dribble handoff with Tatum. Great screen from Rob Williams again. And now Jayson does a great job isolating Joel. Keeps his body on him, forces him onto him, makes it so there can't be a switch. And now again, sidestep to the left, Jayson Tatum 3. I don't even think he did a terrible job, to be honest, on that one. But
no, but this is why, to me, if you're Philly, you should be blitzing ball screens and trapping to get the ball out of Tatum's hands. Because if you're not going to be as aggressive on that, Tatum is going to find ways to force a switch. You just saw it 2 times in a row. He gets Embiid on him in space, and then it's curtains. So, like, if you're seeing the progression of how this game has gone over the last 7 minutes of gameplay, end of the second quarter, beginning of the third, it's Tatum killing them in drop. And then if they either drop or try something different with pre-switching, Tatum finds a way to get Embiid on him and goes at him one-on-one. It's time to blitz, folks. It's time to blitz.
It's time to blitz or play higher, like, hedge and then recover. Like, you can do a lot of different things, but you can't have a circumstance where Joel's feet literally do not leave the paint on this play until Tatum strings him out and isolates him. Literally, his feet are in the paint this entire time up until Tatum strings him out and then knocks down this beautiful sidestep 3. Once he got him on an island, I think Embiid did fine, but the problem is getting him on an island in the first place. I think Adam's 100% right there. Next, Jayson comes up, gets the ball back. Williams sets the screen. I like how Tatum very strongly could have rejected this. He sees Joel come up way high, and he has the option here to reject this and force essentially Tobias Harris into a very difficult spot, right? Tucker does a great job staying in front of him, to be sure. And I think that Jayson might have done that if he wanted to. But instead, Rob flips the screen, which is sharp from Rob Williams again. And then we're isolated on Embiid again. And that's just it's Jayson Tatum being absolutely absurd, right? This is a great shot. This is absurd body control, absurd body mechanics. The inside out dribble just freezes Embiid for that very small split second. Embiid did fine on this play. This was not really Joel here. This is just, you've let Jayson Tatum get into a rhythm now, and it's curtains at this point.
Yep.
To me, that one is more, the problem was what happened the previous 8 possessions. Now we're at the 8-minute mark of the third quarter. And again, same set, just on the opposite side of the court. You're going to throw the ball into Rob Williams. Here comes Jayson Tatum around the screen, and you've let him get downhill because Joel Embiid again is in a full drop. Gets up to the elbow, gets up to like 17-foot line this time.
I mean, it looks like he recognizes he needs to be playing at the level, but he's sagged off Rob Williams so far that he's late to get there. And Tatum is so shifty and keeps his live dribble and his options open. Like, when Rob Williams has that ball, Embiid is still in the lane because he's playing Rob like he's a non-shooting threat. The issue with that is those quick give and goes into a ball screen. Embiid is in no position to be able to help on that. Like when Tatum is cooking, you have to play your man up higher away from the basket, not just when Tatum has the basketball, at all times, so that you are ready to be more aggressive on ball screens.
And to me, this is them probably not experimenting enough throughout the season, because you need to be able to do multiple different things in the playoffs, is what it comes down to. You need to be able to throw different looks at what Boston is doing. And they just did not have a counter here that they felt comfortable executing, I think, is the biggest issue. They threw like a few different things. Like you said, like Joel like tries to come out a little bit higher here. But I don't think he's comfortable doing that at the end of the day.
Nope.
So it's you gotta be able to get guys comfortable doing a lot of different stuff. That's how the playoffs work for bigs. This time they do come out high, they do blitz, and it's just, ball movement from Boston. Again, though, it's one of those things where this is not what they do, right?
Yeah, but it's also not Tatum. Like, finally, here's a play where it's not Tatum shooting the basketball. Like at some point, like, yes, the Celtics, they got really hot and a lot of their other guys stepped up and made shots. But for the first time in 9 minutes of game action, maybe more, it's not Jayson Tatum who's beating you.
Yep, a beautiful slip there from Al Horford, recognizes the open man in Jaylen Brown. Perfect. You're right, it's not. But to me, what you're going to see here in this next one, particularly if I remember correctly, no, it's not. It's not this one. This is where I think we're at the 6-minute mark of the third, and Jayson has been running Joel ragged now at this point for minutes on end. I'm pretty sure that this is just one where Joel stays too low in the screen. Yeah. And the other thing you're going to see here is Joel tries to call out a pre-switch here, right?
Yeah, it feels super zoned up from Philly.
I think it very well might be a zone. But when you're so isolated, I mean, I guess if it's a zone, that's Harden that needs to step up, and it's his responsibility there. It could be a zone. You might be right. This might be a zone here. They've been zoning a lot throughout the series. I think they zoned more than anybody in the playoffs. But you can't let Jayson Tatum walk into a wide open three.
It's even if it is a zone, it's the principle of the matter. How many times have we just watched Tatum kill you in high ball screens, and when he gets a look to pull up on a jump shot? Like, a zone is so easy to take care of in that regard, because you just go screen one of the top guys, and whose responsibility is it to step up? Like, no one really knows.
Yeah, and Harden's just late here. This is wild. This is it. That's just like where they look like defeated almost to me. And now they're back out of the zone here, as you can see. Horford comes up. It's just the different variety of sets that they're running, the different ways that they're getting Jayson Tatum into ball screens. Like, we've seen the insert pass to Rob Williams at the top of the key, and then the dribble handoff off of that. We've seen Jayson Tatum come up and just set a screening action, right? This, I don't think Horford came up from the middle. I think this is like kind of a similar action again. But instead of inserting it to Horford in the middle, Horford goes over, sets a screen, just gets the ball, and eventually turns it over and gets it around to Tatum. It's kind of a similar idea to what they've been running with Rob Williams in the middle of the floor there, in what Adam referred to as the blind pig action, but it's not quite that at the end of the day. Here, Horford sets this screen, and again, you're finding different angles to get Tatum isolated onto Embiid. They bring the double this time. Horford out to Jaylen Brown. Cash, right? You're right. They started to bring doubles. Didn't matter.
Yep. They waited a little bit too long because Tatum got really, really hot. And again, we saw Jaylen Brown hit 2 big threes in those clips, and that's where Boston earns a victory. Is they have too many good players for you to double team guys possession after possession after possession. Al Horford, phenomenal short roll passer and creator. Marcus Smart and guard-to-guard actions, really good there. You've got shooters spaced around the floor. Like, Boston is built for punishing you when you come out in double, but you almost have to live with those other guys beating you once you see Tatum go nuclear.